They're richer than Jeff Bezos, richer than Elon Musk, richer than Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, or Larry Ellison. But here's the kicker. Most people can't even name the wealthiest family in the world. We're talking about the Waltons, the heirs to the Walmart empire. They control nearly $400 billion in combined wealth, quietly shaping the biggest retailer in America, all while staying largely out of the public eye. No Twitter feuds, no billionaire space races, no flashy tech launches. Just decades of steady, massive cash flow from a company that sells everything from toothpaste to TVs. Founded by Sam Walton in 1962, Walmart has grown from a single store in Rogers, Arkansas, into a global giant with over $680 billion in annual revenue, employing millions and serving hundreds of millions of shoppers. But while Walmart's name is everywhere, the Walton family itself? They prefer to stay behind the curtain, letting the company and the money do the talking. This is the story of how Sam Walton's careful planning created one of the most powerful family dynasties on Earth, and how his children and grandchildren are quietly living out billionaire lives while shaping America's retail landscape. Let's dive into the empire of the Waltons, the richest family you've probably never thought much about. Long before the billions, the board seats, and the luxury car crashes, there was Sam Walton, a humble man with a big vision. In 1962, Sam opened his first Walmart store in Rogers, Arkansas. Back then, it was just one small shop in a sea of local retailers. But Sam had a game-changing idea: sell products cheaper than anyone else, even if it meant cutting into profits, and make up the difference in volume. And Sam, he wasn't about the flashy life. Even as Walmart exploded in size, he drove an old pickup truck, flew himself around in a small plane to check on stores, and famously wore simple, inexpensive clothes. But here's where things get interesting. It wasn't just luck that turned Walmart into a retail monster. Sam was meticulous about planning for the future, especially when it came to his family. Before his death in 1992, he carefully set up Walmart's ownership so his heirs wouldn't be crushed by estate taxes. He created a family partnership, Walton Enterprises, dividing ownership among his wife Helen and their 4 children, Rob, John, Jim, and Alice. Each child held 20%, while Sam and Helen each kept 10%. And when Sam passed, Helen inherited his share, tax-free. In short, Sam didn't just leave behind a successful business. He left behind a bulletproof empire designed to keep his family on top, quietly, strategically, and permanently. At 80 years old, Samuel Rob Walton isn't just the eldest of Sam's surviving children. He's the man who carried the torch for decades. Rob served as Walmart's chairman from 1992, right after Sam's death, until 2015, helping steer the company through explosive global growth. Even after stepping down, he stayed on the board until 2024, when he finally retired. But here's where things get fascinating. While Rob inherited his father's understated style, he's also the Walton sibling most likely to make waves. In 2022, Rob led a jaw-dropping $4.65 billion deal to buy the Denver Broncos, a record-breaking sale in NFL history. And it wasn't just him. His daughter Carrie Walton Penner and her partner Greg Penner were part of the ownership group, signaling that Rob is passing the leadership torch not just in business, but also in sports. Rob's taste for big purchases doesn't stop with football. He owns a lavish home in Paradise Valley, Arizona, near the iconic Camelback Mountain, a property that's even drawn protests over Walmart's worker wages. And then there's his obsession with vintage cars. Rob once owned a $15 million Daytona coupe, one of only 5 ever made. But in 2013, headlines exploded when Rob wrecked the rare car in a crash, turning a piece of automotive history into a twisted heap of metal. Despite all the flash, Rob maintains a relatively low public profile, much like his father. But don't be fooled. Behind the scenes, Rob is a key architect of the Walton family's continued grip on power and wealth. John Walton was the second oldest son, and easily the most adventurous of the Walton siblings. Unlike his brother Rob, John wasn't content with boardrooms and corporate meetings. He served as a Green Beret in Vietnam, jumping into combat zones and earning a reputation as a fearless soldier. When he returned home, John didn't immediately slip into a cushy executive role at Walmart. Instead, he took on roles that reflected his love of adrenaline and the outdoors. He worked as a company pilot, a crop duster, and even ran yachting companies. Only later did he join Walmart's board. But tragedy struck in 2005. At just 58 years old, John died in a plane crash, a shocking loss for the Walton family and the business world. In his will, John left about 17% of his wealth to his wife, Christy, and gave the rest to charity and their son, Lucas. That meant Lucas Walton suddenly became one of the richest young heirs in America, inheriting a massive fortune and a legacy of adventure and risk-taking. Christy, meanwhile, eventually sold off some of the family's luxury properties, including a Jackson Hole mansion and a $100 million ranch. John's death wasn't just a personal loss for the Waltons, it reshaped the family's power dynamics. His brother Jim stepped in to fill John's seat on the Walmart board, continuing the family's control over the company. If Rob was the corporate face and John was the adventurer, Jim Walton was the quiet powerhouse working behind the scenes. At 76 years old, Jim holds a staggering $121 billion net worth, making him the richest of Sam Walton's surviving children. But unlike his siblings, Jim has mostly stayed out of the public eye, carefully managing the family's money and influence. Jim is the chairman of Arvest Bank, one of Arkansas's largest banks, with over $26 billion in assets. While Walmart dominates retail, Arvest quietly holds financial power, and Jim has been at its helm for decades. After John's death, Jim also took a seat on the Walmart board, ensuring the family's direct influence over the company's decisions. But by 2016, his son, Stuart Walton, took over that board seat, representing the next generation of Walton leadership. Today, Jim leads Walton Enterprises, the private company managing the family's investments and finances. It's not some flashy Wall Street tower. Its offices sit modestly in Bentonville, Arkansas, the same town where Sam Walton started it all. Despite his massive wealth, Jim is known for being low-key, staying close to home, and focusing on growing the family empire quietly. But make no mistake, his decisions have shaped not just the family's fortune, but the future of Walmart itself. While her brothers stayed close to Walmart's operations, Alice Walton took a dramatically different path, one painted in bold strokes of creativity and passion. At 75 years old, Alice boasts a net worth of $118 billion, but she has never played an active role in the family's retail empire. Instead, her heart belongs to art. Her obsession began young. At just 10 years old, she bought a reproduction of Picasso's Blue Nude for around $2. That small spark would ignite a lifetime devotion. Today, Alice's private art collection is legendary, featuring masterpieces from Andy Warhol, Georgia O'Keeffe, and others, valued at over $500 million. She didn't just hoard her treasures behind closed doors. In 2011, she opened the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas, sharing her collection with the public. One of her most famous acquisitions, a stunning Georgia O'Keeffe painting that she purchased for $44.4 million in 2014, setting a record for the highest price ever paid for a woman's artwork at the time. Alice's luxury isn't limited to art. She's snapped up properties like a 2-floor Park Avenue condo in New York City for $25 million and a sprawling Texas ranch that once carried an asking price of $22 million. But despite her lavish tastes, Alice has also given generously. In 2016, she donated 3.7 million Walmart shares worth about $225 million to the family's Walton Family Foundation, supporting education, environmental protection, and the family's home state of Arkansas. While Walmart's billions could have easily fueled endless luxury, the Walton family has consistently channeled a massive portion of its fortune into philanthropy, primarily through the Walton Family Foundation. Founded in 1987 by Sam and Helen Walton, the foundation was designed not just to give money away, but to teach their children how to work together, make decisions, and create a lasting positive impact. Over the decades, the foundation has become a giant force in education, the environment, and regional development. The foundation's early philanthropic heart was driven by John Walton, who had a deep passion for expanding school choice and giving parents more control over their children's education. Millions of dollars in grants have gone toward charter schools, scholarships, and innovative learning models across the U.S., aiming to reshape how young Americans learn. Under Rob Walton's leadership, the foundation also pushed into environmental causes, funding major projects to promote sustainability. One standout effort helped develop a sustainable fisheries label promoting responsible seafood sourcing, a small but powerful step toward protecting global ecosystems. Despite their vast global reach, the Waltons have always stayed loyal to their Arkansas roots. The foundation's website says a core mission is advancing our home region of Northwest Arkansas and the Arkansas-Mississippi Delta, pouring resources into local development, community programs, and economic growth. The Walton legacy isn't just resting with Sam's children. The family's next generation is stepping into the spotlight, taking on growing responsibility and steering the empire into uncharted territory. In late 2023, the surviving Walton siblings made a significant move by expanding voting rights to 8 of their own children. This step wasn't just about sharing wealth, it was about ensuring that Sam Walton's vision endures through fresh leadership. Among these grandchildren, Stuart Walton, Jim's son, has already made waves by taking his father's seat on the Walmart board back in 2016. He's known for a progressive approach, pushing for sustainability and innovation within the company. Meanwhile, others like Rob Walton's daughter, Carrie Walton Penner, are carving out their own influence, from business ventures to philanthropy. Carrie even joined her father in a record-breaking purchase of the Denver Broncos in 2022, showing the family's reach extends far beyond retail. Though the Waltons remain famously private, this younger generation is quietly molding the family's enormous fortune to reflect new values, including a stronger focus on environmental responsibility, social impact, and modern business practices. With nearly $400 billion in combined wealth, the Walton heirs' decisions will ripple across industries and communities for decades to come. From Sam Walton's first humble Walmart store in Arkansas to a sprawling empire worth nearly $400 billion, the Walton family story is one of vision, resilience, and careful stewardship. Sam wasn't about flashy displays of wealth. He built a business rooted in hard work and community. His children inherited not only a vast fortune, but also a commitment to modesty, philanthropy, and long-term legacy. Whether it's Rob's bold moves in sports ownership, Jim's banking leadership, or Alice's cultural contributions through art, each branch of the family adds a unique chapter to the Walton story. Their foundation's millions in grants touch education, environmental protection, and regional growth, proving that this fortune is about more than dollars. It's about making an impact. Now, with the next generation stepping forward, the future of this empire is evolving. They hold the reins to one of the world's largest private fortunes, facing new challenges and opportunities in a rapidly changing world. The Waltons remind us that behind staggering wealth lies a family navigating legacy, responsibility, and influence, quietly shaping not just business, but culture and community. What will the future hold for this dynasty? Only time will tell, but one thing's clear: the Walton family is far from finished writing their story.